It began with a conversation that was never supposed to leave the walls of a private royal jewelry consultation. At first, it sounded like little more than another discussion about historic heirlooms. But when reports surfaced that Queen Camilla had shown a particular interest in a ruby set long associated with the Queen Mother, palace insiders began paying attention. What seemed like a routine inquiry soon evolved into a story involving royal legacy, family authority, and a refusal that still sparks debate today. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. In royal circles, jewelry has rarely been just jewelry. Behind every tiara, necklace, and gemstone lies a story of inheritance, symbolism, and carefully guarded tradition. That is why reports concerning this particular ruby set immediately attracted attention from those who closely follow the monarchy. According to royal commentators, the collection had long been associated with the Queen Mother, a figure remembered not only for her public role, but also for her determination to preserve the institution she devoted her life to protecting. The moment her name became linked to the discussion, what had appeared to be a simple inquiry suddenly carried much greater significance. As whispers spread, royal jewelry experts reportedly began revisiting the history of the collection. The rubies themselves were said to be among the most recognizable pieces connected to an earlier generation of royals, carrying decades of ceremonial importance and personal association. Yet it was not their beauty that generated the greatest interest. Instead, attention focused on what they represented. Throughout royal history, certain jewels have come to symbolize continuity between generations, serving as visible reminders that the monarchy extends far beyond any single individual. That understanding would soon become central to the growing controversy. According to accounts circulating among palace observers, questions quickly emerged regarding ownership, inheritance, and long-standing expectations surrounding the collection. Were the jewels viewed primarily as personal possessions, free to pass according to private wishes? Or had they become part of a broader royal legacy, intended to remain connected to the institution itself? Such questions may seem technical on the surface, but within royal households they often carry enormous emotional and historical weight. The answers can shape relationships, influence perceptions, and determine how future generations interpret the decisions of those who came before them. The deeper commentators examined the story, the more they found themselves revisiting decisions reportedly made years earlier. Old conversations, historical arrangements, and accounts from royal insiders suddenly became relevant once again. Some observers suggested the issue reflected the Queen Mother's famously careful approach to royal treasures. Others argued that different interpretations of past decisions may have contributed to the current debate. Regardless of which perspective proved most accurate, one reality became increasingly clear: the discussion was no longer centered on gemstones alone. What made the situation especially fascinating was the growing sense that a much larger story remained hidden beneath the surface. Every new detail seemed to raise another question. Every explanation appeared to uncover another layer of royal history waiting to be explored. The ruby set had become more than a collection of precious stones. It had become a symbol of competing views about duty, inheritance, and the responsibilities attached to royal legacy. And as interest continued to grow, attention gradually shifted away from the reported request itself and toward the deeper meaning of the jewels. Because the mystery wasn't simply about a collection of rubies, it was about what those jewels represented within the royal family. To many observers, the ruby set was more than an extraordinary display of royal craftsmanship. For decades, it had been linked to tradition, continuity, and the careful stewardship of the monarchy's most treasured possessions. As interest in the jewels grew, so did attention toward the remarkable history that surrounded them, and the powerful figures who had once safeguarded them. The deeper royal commentators explored the story. The more they found themselves drawn into a legacy that stretched back through generations. Within the monarchy, certain jewels eventually become far more important than the gemstones themselves. They evolve into symbols. They carry memories of state occasions, family milestones, and pivotal moments in royal history. According to jewelry historians, the ruby set occupied precisely that kind of space within the royal collection. It was admired not simply because of its beauty, but because of what it had come to represent over time. At the center of that history stood the Queen Mother. Throughout her life, she developed a reputation for understanding the importance of royal symbolism better than almost anyone else in her generation. While many treasures passed through royal hands over the decades, certain collections reportedly held special meaning because they represented continuity between the past and the future. The ruby set was frequently mentioned among those cherished possessions. Royal experts often pointed to the Queen Mother's appreciation for heirlooms that carried both historical and institutional significance, believing they helped preserve the identity of the monarchy during periods of change. As discussions surrounding the jewels expanded, attention increasingly focused on an important distinction that has shaped royal inheritance for generations. Not all royal treasures are viewed in the same way. Some are considered personal possessions, connected primarily to individual ownership and family inheritance. Others gradually become linked to the institution itself, carrying responsibilities that extend beyond private preference. According to historians, understanding that difference is essential when examining why certain decisions regarding royal jewelry attract such intense interest. For decades, traditions surrounding royal jewels have been governed by a mixture of precedent, symbolism, and careful judgment. While official rules may vary depending on circumstances, there has long been an expectation that some of the most significant pieces remain connected to the continuity of the crown. This principle has often guided decisions involving heirlooms associated with major royal figures. As a result, debates about jewelry frequently become debates about legacy, duty, and the preservation of history itself. Royal jewelry experts reportedly emphasized this broader context as interest in the story continued to grow. They noted that collections like the ruby set often carry value that cannot be measured solely in financial terms. Their importance lies in their ability to connect generations of royals to a shared story. Each appearance, each transfer, and each decision involving such treasures can influence how future generations interpret the past. That reality helps explain why even a seemingly private discussion can evolve into a matter of wider fascination. The more observers examined the history of the collection, the clearer its significance became. What had first appeared to be a story about gemstones gradually transformed into a story about stewardship, tradition, and the responsibilities attached to royal inheritance. The Queen Mother's connection to the jewels added another layer of importance, ensuring that every discussion surrounding the collection would inevitably be viewed through the lens of her enduring legacy. And as that legacy came into sharper focus, attention naturally shifted toward a new question. If the ruby set carried such profound historical meaning, why had it suddenly become the subject of renewed interest in the first place? According to royal commentators, discussions surrounding the ruby set intensified when reports suggested that Queen Camilla had expressed a particular interest in the collection. What may have appeared to be a simple inquiry quickly attracted attention from those familiar with royal protocol. Soon, questions emerged regarding expectations, precedent, and whether the request touched upon issues far larger than jewelry alone. By this stage, the story had already moved beyond the realm of ordinary royal gossip. The historical significance of the ruby set, combined with its close association with the Queen Mother, ensured that any discussion involving the collection would attract intense scrutiny. According to reports circulating among royal observers, what initially seemed like a routine expression of interest quickly evolved into a much broader conversation. Palace commentators began asking not only what was being requested, but what the request itself might reveal about the evolving dynamics inside the royal family. As attention intensified, advisors reportedly found themselves revisiting historical arrangements connected to some of the monarchy's most treasured possessions. Royal collections are often governed by traditions that have developed over decades, sometimes generations. While many details remain private, the principles behind those arrangements frequently reflect a delicate balance between personal ownership and institutional responsibility. It was within this context that questions reportedly began to emerge. If the ruby set carried significant historical importance, how should decisions regarding its future be approached? And who ultimately possessed the authority to shape that future? Those questions quickly gave rise to discussions about precedent. Royal households place enormous value on continuity, and past decisions often influence future expectations. According to commentators familiar with royal protocol, any perceived departure from established practice can trigger extensive review. What made this situation particularly fascinating was that different observers appeared to interpret the same circumstances in very different ways. Some believed the reported interest was entirely understandable given Camilla's position within the monarchy. Others argued that the unique history of the ruby set required additional caution. The resulting debate became increasingly difficult to ignore. As speculation spread, royal commentators began examining the broader implications of the story. The conversation was no longer limited to the jewels themselves. Instead, it touched upon larger themes involving legacy, stewardship, and the responsibilities that accompany royal status. Every discussion seemed to uncover another layer of complexity. What had started as a question about a collection of rubies was gradually becoming a reflection of how the monarchy manages its most cherished symbols during periods of transition. Interest soon expanded beyond royal experts, and his palace observers, journalists, and longtime followers of the monarchy all found themselves drawn into the discussion. The lack of definitive answers only fueled further curiosity. With each passing day, new interpretations emerged, each attempting to explain why the matter had generated such unusual attention. Some focused on tradition, others emphasized family relationships. Many believed the true significance lay somewhere between the two. According to reports, the growing conversation eventually reached increasingly senior figures within royal circles. That development alone suggested the issue was being treated with greater seriousness than many had initially expected. Once senior advisors and decision-makers become involved, seemingly minor matters can quickly acquire much greater importance. The ruby set was no longer simply a historical collection. It had become the center of a debate involving duty, inheritance, and the preservation of royal legacy. And as officials reportedly examined the issue from every possible angle, they repeatedly found themselves returning to one unavoidable reality. The answers they were seeking could not be found in the present alone. To understand the controversy, they would first need to revisit decisions, principles, and judgments established many years earlier. Long before the current controversy emerged, the Queen Mother had developed a reputation for protecting certain royal treasures with remarkable determination. Reports and historical accounts suggest that she viewed some collections not merely as personal possessions, but as symbols of continuity intended to serve future generations. It was this perspective that would become central to understanding why the ruby set remained so significant. To understand the growing debate, many royal historians argued that it was necessary to look beyond the present and return to the values that shaped an earlier generation of the monarchy. The Queen Mother lived through periods of extraordinary upheaval, witnessing moments that tested both the institution and the people entrusted with preserving it. Through those experiences, she reportedly developed a deep belief that certain royal possessions carried responsibilities far greater than ownership alone. According to commentators, this philosophy influenced many of the decisions she made regarding treasured heirlooms during her lifetime. Unlike ordinary collections that pass quietly from one generation to the next, royal jewels often exist within a unique space between family inheritance and institutional symbolism. The Queen Mother was frequently described as someone who understood that distinction better than most. Reports suggest she viewed certain pieces not simply as beautiful objects, but as part of a larger story that connected the monarchy's past, present, and future. In her view, preserving that connection was every bit as important as preserving the jewels themselves. As historians revisited records and accounts from previous decades, a pattern reportedly began to emerge. Time and again, decisions involving important collections appeared to reflect a preference for continuity rather than convenience. The objective was not merely to determine who might appreciate a particular heirloom in the present moment. Instead, attention was focused on how those treasures could continue serving as symbols for generations yet to come. This long-term perspective became one of the defining characteristics of the Queen Mother's approach. The ruby set occupied a particularly fascinating place within that tradition. According to royal experts, it was admired not only because of its elegance, but because of the legacy attached to it. Over the years, the collection became associated with important occasions, significant royal figures, and enduring themes of stability and duty. Every appearance reinforced its connection to the wider history of the monarchy. As a result, decisions regarding its future were rarely viewed as simple matters of personal preference. Accounts circulating among royal commentators suggest that the Queen Mother considered the future of certain collections with exceptional care. While details remain the subject of ongoing discussion, many historians believe she placed considerable importance on ensuring that significant heirlooms retained their broader symbolic role. The goal, according to these interpretations, was not to restrict access or create division. It was to preserve continuity during periods of inevitable change. That philosophy helps explain why discussions surrounding the ruby set continued to generate such strong reactions decades later. What some observers saw as a disagreement over jewelry, others viewed as a debate about the preservation of royal heritage itself. The deeper people examined the issue, the clearer it became that the collection represented far more than gemstones arranged in precious metal. It embodied a set of principles that many believed the Queen Mother spent a lifetime defending. Yet despite all the attention devoted to her views, the full significance of those earlier decisions would not become apparent until years later. Only when new questions emerged and old assumptions were challenged did observers begin to understand why the Queen Mother's reported position remained so influential. And it was those later events that would bring the entire controversy sharply back into focus. As details continued circulating among royal observers, the story quickly evolved beyond a question of ownership. Discussions reportedly expanded into broader debates about stewardship, responsibility, and the role of senior royals in preserving historic assets. What had begun as a private matter increasingly became a reflection of competing visions for the monarchy itself. Years after the original decision was reportedly made, its influence continued to echo throughout royal discussions. Historians, commentators, and jewelry experts frequently pointed to the episode as a reminder that even seemingly small decisions can shape public perceptions of duty, leadership, and legacy for decades. The ruby set had become far more than a collection of precious gemstones. It had evolved into a symbol of how the monarchy balances personal wishes with the responsibility of protecting traditions that extend across generations. As advisors and royal analysts revisited the controversy, the conversation increasingly focused on stewardship rather than ownership. Questions emerged about who should safeguard historic treasures, how inheritance decisions should be approached, and what obligations come with preserving symbols so deeply connected to royal history. Different interpretations naturally followed. Some viewed the reported refusal as an example of protecting continuity. Others saw it as evidence of the difficult choices that often accompany royal responsibility. Regardless of perspective, few disputed that the issue carried significance well beyond the jewelry itself. Public fascination remained strong because the story touched on themes that continue to resonate today. Duty versus personal preference, legacy versus immediate desire, tradition versus change. These are questions that have shaped royal history for generations, and the ruby set became an unexpected focal point for all of them. As commentators examined historical precedents and compared them to modern expectations, the collection increasingly came to represent a larger conversation about the future direction of the monarchy. In the end, the controversy was no longer centered on a ruby set. It had become a debate about responsibility, continuity, and the values future generations would be expected to uphold. And as attention gradually shifted from the past toward the future, one final question remained at the center of the discussion: who was ultimately meant to inherit not merely the jewels themselves, but the responsibility and legacy attached to them? For many royal analysts, the most important aspect of the story was never who wanted the ruby set. Instead, it was who would eventually become responsible for preserving its meaning. In an era of transition, every decision involving royal heirlooms carries implications that extend far beyond the present moment and into the monarchy's future. As the debate continued, attention increasingly shifted toward future generations and the role they would play in safeguarding royal heritage. Commentators argued that the true value of historic treasures lies not in ownership, but in stewardship. The ruby set had become a powerful example of how certain royal possessions are viewed as links between generations, carrying stories, traditions, and responsibilities that cannot easily be separated from the institution itself. Questions about continuity, leadership, and public trust began overshadowing the original controversy entirely. In the end, the story endured because it was never truly about jewelry. It was about legacy, responsibility, and the enduring belief that some royal treasures belong to history as much as they belong to any individual. According to many observers, the episode offered a revealing glimpse into how the monarchy balances personal wishes against the weight of tradition. Duty remained central to the discussion, while concerns about future leadership and the preservation of royal symbolism reinforced the importance of consistency across generations. By this stage, the ruby set had become a symbol of something much larger than a single royal dispute. It represented the ongoing challenge of protecting heritage while navigating change, preserving public trust while managing private interests, and ensuring that the values of one generation can be passed successfully to the next. Because in the end, royal treasures derive their true value not from gemstones alone, but from the generations entrusted to protect them. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in